looking at things, it's trying things and trying things out. And I honestly do believe it in some respect. Some things just find you when you're
100%.
when you're least expecting it.
100%.
But I think it's what it is. It's kind of having that open mindset to go, I'm all in and I'm going to be open to any kind of experience that's going to allow me to progress.
It's all about what you're thinking you could be interested in, not what I'm interested in, because you don't know.
Yeah.
So that comes from, okay, I'm going to try this. And the more you throw at the wall, the more stuff we're going to stick on the wall. So
yeah,
that's how we learn. Hey people, welcome back to Triangle Theory, and today we're going to explore the topic called a quarter-life crisis. Many of us know what is midlife crisis that occurs for the men between 40 and 50 years old, but not many are aware of quarter-life crisis. And we're going to delve into what is quarter-life crisis and what is midlife crisis, signs of quarter-life crisis and why quarter-life crisis is a good sign, and how to navigate through a quarter-life crisis.
100%. I feel like this is a really good topic because, you know, this was a period where I was in sort of my 20s, and now coming out of my 20s, it's sort of understanding who you are and where we're sort of going through that transitionary period of maybe it's an identity crisis, or you don't know where you're at right now, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know who to be. I think the idea behind this podcast is to say that's okay, and
that's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely, because it means that you're fundamentally trying to understand more things about yourself in a way that's positive, in a way that's going to allow you to grow and make the steps that you need to later on in life. And I think that we sort of resonate a lot with this topic because this also comes a lot from our own experiences. Okay. So what is a quarter-life crisis?
Yeah, so just describe the what is quarter-life crisis. So the term quarter-life crisis refers to the anxiety and self-doubt that some young adults experience during their mid to late 20s and early 30s some, but I would say it's between 20s to 30s. This period is often marked by transitioning out of college and into the workforce, often accompanied by changing roles and increased responsibilities. So I remember from my personal experience, there was a time where I think I was like 23 or 22 maybe.
Yeah.
And at that time I was very into training, and I was working these random jobs just to make a living for myself. And I was going through that period when I realized, especially with social media, when you see all of your classmates and your past friends, they getting married, some of them buying houses, getting good jobs, and then you kind of realize like what I'm doing with my life, and that's where it starts to hit you, because you kind of feel lost and depressed in a way. But that's the thing, because you have to realize that there are so many people that feels that way, especially your age. So I remember I was talking with my ex-girlfriend at that time, and she was ex-girlfriend at that time as well, but we still kept in touch because we're quite good friends. And she's like, I think you're experiencing quarter-life crisis. And at that time, I never heard of that term before, because I knew about midlife crisis, but never really heard of quarter-life crisis. And then I did some research, and it kind of made sense in that time. But obviously, when you're in that situation, you don't really know how to navigate through that.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, because when I was researching this topic, I remember sort of hearing sort of a midlife crisis, sort of when I think back to sort of being younger, you'd sort of hear that, or when you're sort of mid-40s, especially as men, it's quite common to have a midlife crisis. And do you think that a quarter-life crisis was always the case, sort of if you think back, sort of let's say within the last sort of century? Or do you think now there seems to be more of a quarter-life crisis than midlife crises? Do you think only sort of now that's sort of starting to creep up, that more people in their 20s are having this sort of identity crisis? Or do you think it was always the case?
I think it's a mixture of cases, to be honest, because so looking at where I'm from Lithuania, and my mom was born in Soviet Union. So you don't really have much of the quarter-life crisis there, because everything for these people occurred very early. So essentially, they used to get married at 20,
Okay.
used to get their careers at 20, 22. Like everything is sorted, so they don't really knew how different it can be. Whereas in Western cultures, I think is a bit different because you have more opportunities and more choices to make. And then from that, it comes, and especially with social media, it's it's accelerating because you see your peers and you see your classmates and you see your ex friends and ex girlfriends
Yeah.
on the social media how well they're doing, because obviously no one posts how bad they're doing, you know. So I think it's accelerating now because you're comparing yourself with other people. So yeah, to your question, I think quarter life crisis is accelerating in the last
Yeah,
even
'cause
50 years.
if I try and think about it, there seems to be a lot less sort of structure around, especially in your 20s, where the expectation might have been like you're going to get married and have kids at sort of your late 20s, early 30s. Whereas now that might not necessarily be I feel like there's definitely a sort of a revolutionary change in the way that we sort of view
Yeah.
when we want to get settled. Like people want to sort of stay in their careers and excel in that a lot longer.
There's a lot more freedom now.
Yeah, maybe that comes with self-doubt because that sort of goes against maybe the norm that was given, where you were sort of working a sort of a standard job and there was sort of a bit more structure there. So I don't know if that's potentially why there seems to be more sort of people feeling uneasy about the choices that they're making because it's steering away from maybe what their parents did or their grandparents did. So I think in that sense, it's a very interesting time right now. I think potentially there was always this sort of barrier of understanding of oneself through that period of 20s where you're sort of, because I didn't really feel it until I was like 25, where I started to feel a bit more secure in myself. It was between 20 and 25. That period was very like, I don't know who I am, but I'm okay with that.
Hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far into the podcast. If you have any feedback, then please let us know, as we always want to make this podcast better. So hearing from you is always a pleasure. Please subscribe to all of our platforms, get involved at Triangle Theory. If you've got any comments or if you want to share any topics that you think that me and Conrad would like to talk about, then please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
I'm still trying to work it out. It wasn't really until I started after that period where I was like, okay, I kind of have a bit more understanding of who I am.
It's actually interesting because I've experienced.
Yeah, and I think that it's sort of, I sort of stopped myself overthinking towards what was the expectation from my parents or grandparents, maybe because of the sort of lives that they had. And
it's completely different.
Yeah, and I think where sort of my quarter life crisis was not necessarily a point in my 20s where I was like, I'm having a crisis. I think there was just a lot more pockets of time, whether it be months, weeks, or sometimes maybe a year, where I was sort of questioning my path and the decisions that I made in life. And that sort of led me to not having a very positive outlook in the way in which I was doing things, because I couldn't quite call it and say, oh God, I must be having a quarter life crisis. It was more sort of a state of just, I feel very doubtful and unknown and I don't know where I'm going.
I didn't even know what's quarter life crisis as well. So
and I don't know if that was because I didn't know my values or what it is that I wanted to produce. I didn't know if I was living more authentically to myself. I felt I was kind of just floating in a way. And I wasn't until I started to muster up a bit more confidence about who I was that I started to kind of fall into that. But it's funny because when I speak to my sister, she's like, my life really was like got way better when I turned 30, because there's that dread of like when you're like, oh, I don't want to leave my 20s, I want to stay in my 20s, I don't want to be 30. And I think there's that sort of expectation where you've got to have this thing achieved by the time you're 30. And I had that because I would count down from like 22, how many years left until 30. It was almost like I was counting down to my death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy, yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I've got to have my life sorted by the time I'm 30, because that's when I'm supposed to have my shit together.
Yeah.
And I suppose in a way that's kind of almost like having a bit of a crisis, right?
What I've read, I think on Reddit, there was, I follow this subreddit that I think it's called Ask Old People. Something like that. But apparently, like young people asking advice for older people, and they say if you could, I don't really remember the exact subreddit, but it was the exact question, sorry, but it was something between those lines that how would you describe the decades, like from 20 to 30, 30 to 40,
Oh, that's
40
interesting.
to 50? And they, one of the old people said that essentially 20 to 30 is just a time to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Figure yourself out.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Figure
Yeah.
it out yourself. Yeah.
Figure out yourself, and then 30 to 40 is kind of double down on what you think it works,
Yeah.
and then only 40 to 50 you exactly know who you are as a person, and
Yeah.
that's the time to build on what's working from 30 to 40. So when people wants to build these businesses, million businesses between 20 to 30, I mean, there's such a small percentage that do, because no one really knows what they're doing. And sometimes now I write a lot, and
Yeah.
I do this podcast, and I train, and sometimes I'm thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
I really like doing it, but at the same time I was like, I would never ever imagine myself doing that stuff. So that makes me realize that probably in the next 5 years I could do completely different things from what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to pick. It's like we had an episode, How to Find Your Purpose.
Yeah.
You're just picking as many things as you can,
Yeah.
and then you see what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you, like, with writing right now, I feel like I'm enjoying doing that. I generally enjoy doing that, and that probably will take me into something else. So again, 20 to 30 is just trying to figure yourself out. And
It's so interesting because I don't know if you guys know, but I've now started jiu-jitsu.
finally,
I'm so proud of it.
finally.
And it's funny because not only does my brother go there now, you went to the same gym, but also my cousin Bart goes there now.
Yeah.
And he's also, I think he's 3 stripes now.
Do you have any stripes now?
No, not
yet.
yet. Not yet. I think I'm getting close.
Virgin.
Maybe. It's changed my life in so many ways, but just to quick kind of stay on topic is I was talking to Bart yesterday because Bart wasn't in for a couple of weeks. And I was like, where you been at, man? And he was like, I'm actually starting my own business in.
Right.
Yeah, he's a physio.
Nice.
So he's not working he's trying to build his own practice. And I was like, I'm so proud you're doing that because you're doing it. And Bart's 26. And I think he'll go really far with it. And I'm really
He's really good at it.
Yeah, he's
really good.
And he's very clever. And I think he was like, I respect you for going out and doing your own thing too. And we would, because my mum and auntie, they're quite similar. They're very like sort of like, oh, should you be doing that? Maybe you should stay in it.
Wow.
And I was like, at 26 years of age, to try as many things as possible
exactly.
and just throw yourself in it and see what sticks. It's far better to take that risk, not only because you're at home and you have the resources to be able just to try new things and see what works and see what doesn't, instead of like when you're 35 and maybe you've got more commitments and you've got more sort of people relying on you and responsibilities. It seems like a bit more of a risk, but more people had, I guess, done that in their later years. But I suppose sort of flipping that on its head is absolutely in your because I think it's unrealistic to think that you're going to build this big empire before you're 30. And what it's all about is kind of just trying things out, giving yourself time, give yourself a break a little bit, ease off on sort of having this over kind of expectation that you've got to have this all figured out and have this kind of money churning in and all this sort of, it's just too much. But it's interesting because I remember when I was a kid, my mum's friend's turning 40, or there was a 40th birthday, and someone was like, your life starts at 40. And that was something that I remember hearing. And then hearing that being like, well, I guess, yeah, you've still got another 40 years having already kind of gone through that sort of nitty gritty of like figuring yourself out, going into the shit relationships.
By the way, if you're trying to figure yourself out, because some people just partying throughout their 20s and then you're not really exploring yourself that much, innit?
But that's okay. Like,
I'm not saying you can't party.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
You definitely can, but
because who I find really inspiring is our coach Martin.
Yeah.
A huge partier, a huge raver, And now I kind of see him as this sort of like guru sensei, but really has kind of cultivated his personality and sort of his understand. And like, I would love to get him on here at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think you, the viewers, would really love to hear from him. But
Carson Gracie Clapham, by the way.
yeah, shout
If anyone
out.
wants to try jiu-jitsu.
Shout
Best
out.
gym in London,
100.
in the UK.
100%. But it's just interesting to hear people's lives paths in that sense, where maybe at that time when he was sort of during the 80s and 90s, maybe it was a bit more of a party revolution around that style. Maybe a bit more revolution and a bit more of like a fuck you to the...
Yeah. No, like, I'm not saying you can't party.
No.
I don't want to come across as,
of course.
as the person who... Because I used to party a lot.
Yeah, me too. I still do.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. You have to do it because you have to let yourself go sometimes. And it was really, really fun. But what I mean is where people live for the weekend and all they do is just, weekend, we're going to get smashed. That's it. And throughout the week, they just work in miserable jobs that they don't like. That's not the lifestyle, I think. That's not the way you should follow if you want to figure yourself out. By the way, touching on Martin, you know when he started doing jiu-jitsu?
When?
At 38 years old or 36.
Really? What, he actually first started?
Yeah. He used to do Wing Chun before.
Oh yeah, of
Wing
course.
Chun,
Yeah, he was like a black belt on Wing Chun.
And then he got into jiu-jitsu and then he's like, this is it.
It just gives me so much inspiration because I thought I was starting late because like you see guys younger than
you know, sorry for cutting you again.
No,
you know Eddie Bravo?
Yeah.
He started at 28 or 29.
Really?
Very late.
Did you see that? Sorry, I know we're going off topic, but did you see where he tapped out Gracie?
Yeah, Royce Gracie. Yeah.
Right. Mate.
Royce Gracie?
I think he was in
Royal
that black
Gracie.
belt, in that like black belt champion.
Yeah.
In Brazil.
Yeah. He was no one
Like,
believed in him.
Joe Rogan was there. He was
crying.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just
man,
like-
it's crazy.
it's so-
Crazy.
But I suppose again, looking at things, it's trying things and trying things out. And I honestly do believe it in some respect. Some things just find you when you're
100%.
when you're least expecting it.
100%.
But I think it's what it is. It's kind of having that open mindset to go, I'm all in and I'm going to be open to any kind of experience that's going to allow me to progress.
Do you think, now that we're talking about it, do you think that midlife crisis occurs for the people that follows that, I would say, conventional lifestyle? I would say so they're getting married early. By the way, there's nothing wrong with getting married early if you're the right person. But if you're getting married early without really knowing why you're getting in a marriage, and then you go to uni, you find a career path, and then you start to live your life, you settle down at like very early. But then when you reach 40, you realize that you haven't tried any things that you wanted to try when you were 20 to 30.
I think it is because I try to sort of understand why it might be that, and I think what would cause me to have a crisis at that age if I had this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it comes from where you may have had responsibility early on, whether that's like a child early or where you sort of had to jump into this sort of societal norm where you weren't able to live more authentically. So like you were saying, where you weren't able to try these jobs or maybe it's even an identity crisis where you thought you should have been there by now.
Yeah,
and all
exactly.
of a sudden you see someone like
Putting expectations.
and then they're just like buying a car that they can't afford and trying to keep up with these appearances. But I do think it comes from a sense of not knowing who you are. You're getting to an age where you feel like you probably should. And I think it comes from a place of, I didn't get to try these things when I had the chance to.
Yeah.
So
I guess as well, it's choosing comfort over discomfort.
Yeah.
There were many times when I could have chosen
Great point.
staying in my comfort zone and not trying these random things that I thought it would be fun to try. But then as soon as I tried them, I think I realized that this is the way. Like, you have to try as many different things as possible to kind of, because when you're putting yourself in these different scenarios and different environments, you kind of realize who you are as a person in a way. So I tried jiu-jitsu and then I realized that I'm quite a competitive person, and then I tried writing and I realized that I'm quite creative and podcasts as well, like quite creative person, and I like deep conversations, and all of these different exercises helps you to realize who you are as a person.
Yeah, it's like allowing you to express yourself
Exactly.
like fully. And I think where you wouldn't be able to, where you felt like you weren't allowed to express yourself in trying things, it would cause you to feel sort of negative in a way. And then that would kind of create some kind of semi-crisis meltdown because you're like, I can't be myself. I don't feel like people will accept me for who I am because I'm too scared to try things, and I feel too uncertain because I'm scared of judgment. I'm scared of what people will think if I go to this, or maybe I'll go there and I'll make like an ass of myself because, you know, I've got this sort of self-doubt. This kind of, I feel worthless. And I think that's the kind of stuff where if you kind of nip that in early on and you sort of just try these things and put yourself out there, it kind of leads you up to more success in your later life where you avoid that sort of identity crisis maybe. And I'm speaking on behalf because obviously I'm not 40 or 45 or in that age of, you know, what a crisis might feel like at that age, but trying to put my finger on it and looking at sort of in this topic, I've found that maybe it's because that those that feel like they're at a crisis is because maybe they're not where they're at right now. And then if it's because you're not where you feel like you are right now, maybe it's because of like everything that we're saying. So I think a lot of it's kind of about sort of taking things at a time. Like if I try and go back to sort of quarter life crisis and sort of speaking for those that are in that period of where they're not knowing what they want to do, or they're sort of having that quarter life crisis where they're like, I don't know who I am. I don't even know if I'm with the right people. Am I being with the, or sort of taking it back to sort of a quarter life crisis. I think it comes from a place of trying to get over that hump of not allowing yourself to express yourself in ways because you feel either judged or because you feel like you can't do it. I think it's really like you were saying, it's discomfort over comfort, and it's about training your mind to sort of lean in towards the discomfort, because I'm not going to lie, I was terrified when I went to the first class, absolutely terrified, and hands up will say that because I didn't know what people would be like. So this is just speaking on behalf of jiu-jitsu, but what it told me is, from an immediate feedback loop, is I can do it. I can roll with someone. I can have the pressure of someone trying to submit me. And that told me, oh, I actually really enjoy this. And then it's kind of led to this. So it was just about leaning into things that feel uncomfortable. And then now I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah. I'm going to kiss your ass a bit, but like, but yeah, it's crazy how good you are without even knowing stuff. Because I guess it comes because you're doing gym and you're quite strong as a person, but even when Bart rolled with you and I rolled with you, it's like, oh shit, like it felt like you know something without even attending any classes. So
thank you so much.
So yeah, it'd be really great to see how you get on in like a year or two.
Oh yeah,
when you get your blue belt.
Oh mate, so good.
Yeah, so back to the what you just spoke. I guess it's very, very important to realize that if you feel quarter life crisis, is a good time, because that's an indication that you are open-minded enough to try new things, and you're not happy with where you are at a moment in life. And that's like an indicator that, okay, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling kind of down, and I'm not sure where I'm heading. So that's the starting point. You have to realize that this is it. Like, I have to think, what are my next steps? So again, it goes back to our first episode. If you're feeling that way, that means you have to try new things. It's like Gary Vaynerchuk says, try as many things as possible, as many as to 30. And you look, like when I was 22, I was listening to him, not as much, but when you used to say that, I was like, what do you mean by that? I didn't really understand what you mean by try as many things as possible, because I thought these things has to be like, build a business, build a email marketing agency, build a blog, create a podcast, like these big things where the reality is all you have to do is just try a new class,
Yeah.
try to meet the person, try to go to networking event, try jiu-jitsu, try tennis, try art, try to go do salsa. Like my girlfriend and I 2 weeks ago went to like a salsa class.
That's amazing.
That was really fun.
That's
I really
you
enjoyed
said
it.
you wanted to do dancing.
Yeah. It was my first time. I felt very uncomfortable because
Yeah.
it's like I don't know how to dance, but I saw like many people doesn't
Yeah.
know how to do it. So, but again, like I went to try these things and I really enjoyed it, and I really want to do, but it's in the way of my training, so I'm not sure I'm gonna cope.
Keep it up. It's awesome because I think, and it's funny because sometimes I was watching back on one of our podcasts in episode 8, and I said as I was listening back to it, I was kind of like typing some stuff out, and I was like, oh, that was quite nice. What was it? And it's kind of about not measuring success by how much money you have or by what it is that you're doing, but by measuring your success by being able to do the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if I think about what cultivates more success, if I'm someone that has no idea what they want to do or progress, okay, what values do you have? What is important to you? Like, are you an honest person? Are you someone that
Sorry if I cut you.
Yeah, no,
but I think you know your values only by trying different things. So
good point.
I would go one step what's it called?
One step
backwards.
Or one step backwards.
And I would say think what could interest you. Like, don't think what interests you, because if you don't know, like, there are people that say, oh,
I'm not interested.
I'm not interested in anything. Like, think what could interest you. So say, for example, you watching telly because you don't do anything with your life, and then you see UFC MMA fighters, they fighting, and you feel, oh, that could be really interesting. That's it. Go and try the gym, try the class, and you'll see. Like, if you don't like it, just go back home and try a different thing. What it's all about. What you're thinking you could be interested, not what I'm interested in, because you don't know.
Yeah.
So that comes from, okay, I'm gonna try this, and the more you try, the more you throw at the wall, the more stuff we're gonna stick on the wall. So
yeah,
that's how we learn.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's a great way to look at it in terms of, that's the reality of my situation. I should just go and try some things.
Because no one knows.
I think
no one knows.
Trying to, because I remember when there was all these things I wanted to try, but I was also a bit nervous and a bit sort of like, I guess scared in a way, but I was like, I don't know if I will enjoy that enough to even want to go try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of like, well, what kind of person do I want to be? And I had this idea of someone that kind of was confident, could try all these things, and, sort of be a bit more fearless in that way. And I think that's why I was like, okay, well, what are the values of that person? Well, the values of that person is maybe someone that's quite, confident within themselves, trust themselves, can build quite relationships with people quite easily. And I was like, okay, well, I want to be that person, but I feel like I'm not that person right now. That makes me feel shit. Well, actually, no, you're starting off from a place which is good, and that's a positive because you found a starting point.
Yeah, exactly.
And the starting point is, okay, well, I know where I kind of want to be. I know the kind of things I want to try. And then it's then sort of taking that leap of faith into just saying it all starts from just the one, like reading a book starts with just reading one page.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it does. It's hard. And then you start building momentum from that. But it comes sort of from that place of where you've got to start thinking like, how do I want to, for me, it was always a sense of urgency because I know how precious time is. So it was like, I just wanted to try and get everything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what motivated me. But also there were times where I wasn't very motivated as well. But I think what I'm trying to get to is try to understand the fundamentals that make up you and where you want to go. And then just try and put yourself in a place where you're not thinking so much externally. You're just trying to find it from an internal place, because that allows you to be more authentic.
Yeah.
That allows you to go, fuck it, I'm just going to try that class and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because then it might turn into, I mean, look, we met through jiu-jitsu and now we're doing this, and now I feel like I'm living even more authentically to myself because this is something I really want to do.
Unique, very
And
unique.
It's just a unique experience, and it's coming firsthand from someone that.
Hey guys, your feedback is very important. And no, this is not an advertisement. Actually, what I'm asking from you is to leave a comment below what you liked and most importantly, what you disliked about this episode, because we can improve on the next episodes and we can make a better content for you to listen. Give us also a topics you'd like to us talking about, and we can prepare, do your research and talk about it on the next episodes. Thank you.
Really was going through something where I was like, I don't know what I want to do in my life.
Exactly.
Now
No one knows.
But now I'm starting to think, well, I really enjoy this.
That's it.
And it starts from just having those initial. But I think when it kind of goes back to, because I used to watch a lot of Gary Vee as well, and I kind of used to think, oh, maybe I've got to work like 400 days a year and have this sort of hustle culture, and that makes me feel a bit insignificant because there's so many other people doing great things at my age, and there's probably not enough room for me to have success anyway, right? But I think it's just trying to scale it back to the just
exactly.
There's a really good book, it was the first book I read during lockdown called The Slight Edge.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
I can't recommend that book enough. Like, if there's one, it's The Simple Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I know that you and I had that book in common, but The Slight Edge was such a game changer for me because
really
what it was just that understanding that tipping point, and it just forget everything else. Like when I met you and joined GJ, I wasn't even thinking about a podcast, but it's that sort of momentum that builds from that starts turning into these things. And that's just how life works. I think it's just saying yes to things, and then things just happen because you're in that mindset where you're allowing these things to come in, and that just combats the crisis within itself, right? Because you're like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then not letting anyone feed into that space that creates negativity, and just keep doing you.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. Like, literally, when you think about it, we do the stuff that other people created. Very few people create stuff because, like what I'm saying, that very few people create the stuff, like their own stuff, like what I'm talking about, inventions and discoveries, but we literally do what other people did in something in the past, and we have no idea what we're doing here on this planet sometimes. Like we just walk in here, we're going to work, we find a spouse, and then after 70, 80 years we just die. So we simply follow stuff that we potentially like, and then eventually we just die. So I think that idea itself, for me, is just, why not doing what I like to do? I was speaking with my friend Joe yesterday on WhatsApp, and he said I was speaking to one of these girls that I met, and we had this deep chat, and they were talking about how is it important to follow your own heart. And I was like, this is so amazing that you're talking about it, because you want to be as unique as possible. Like, you want to be your own version. Like Chris Williamson say, you can't be a second Joe Rogan, because he's best at what he does, because he's being him. So you can't be better than he is at being himself. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to. You can't be like, I can't be better than you are at you being yourself, and vice versa. You can't be better at me than being myself. So we are so unique. We are such unique individuals, and I think the best way is to do just what interests you, and then you're going to build the stuff that you're just interested in.
Yeah, and it comes down to sort of appreciating your uniqueness as well.
Exactly, man.
Like, at the end of the day, like, if we were all the same, life would be really fucking boring.
Yeah.
And when I think about your unique traits and what makes up you, that's why we love you, and that's why we, know you for you. Same for me, same for everyone else. And it's just leaning into those kind of quirks and understandings about yourself where it's like, I don't need to conform and be the same as everyone else or try and recycle other people's thing, like, because that's them doing their thing, that's them pushing their. What can I do that allows me to still express myself but do it in a unique way that still comes from a place of that I want to do that because that's me. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Like, I always try and think of it in a way of, if there was no one on this planet and no one could stop me doing the things I'd want to do, I would do them. So then what's stopping me when everyone's here? And it kind of allows me to sort of live life a bit more in that way.
Because if you kind of realize what's stopping you, just other people's opinions, right?
Other people's opinions, and then it's just my own self. So it's like, well, let's get that out of the way, because that's not allowing me to live more of the life I want to live. And that's where I feel like these pockets of crisis come out, because it feels like I'm kind of falling short in a way, because I'm not allowing myself to get past that barrier. So it's like, well, I'm not going to let myself get in the way of my own success if that is what I want. And I think everyone has that, but then they kind of maybe blame that to external factors, where it's like, well, I can't live that now because, you know, I've got this responsibility or this job, and I get all that, but it's still at the same time, it's trying to find ways that will allow you to be kinder and more authentic to yourself, that won't allow you to kind of steer off path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you find yourself in quarter life crisis, I assume midlife crisis as well, you kind of experience the same emotion. So I can't talk about midlife crisis, but when I experienced quarter life crisis, I wanted to do something extreme, like quit everything and go travel, which I don't think is a bad thing if you got enough money to do that, to support yourself. But at that time I didn't have that much money, and I thought, fuck it, I'll just quit everything, pack my stuff, go travel for 3-6 months, then come back and see what happens. And then I wanted to just do these drastic changes. But that's sometimes is a good thing, because that's what I did last year. I just packed my stuff and went traveling, but at the same time I was working remotely, so I was in a very good position to do that.
That was another thing for me, because I felt I was very lucky to travel at the age that I did, and get to experience life the way that I did it. I think there's a lot of people sort of in their 20s that want to travel, and I think that is a great way to get away and understand things about yourself. I'm a massive advocate. Like I was very lucky to do it at the age that I did. I was 18 when I traveled, and
you had traveled for like 4 years.
I traveled for a long time. And I think whenever you're sort of throwing yourself into other cultures and sort of the unknown in the world, you have this sort of like, it comes more instinctual, and it allows you to understand yourself fundamentally hugely, because you're building connections with people. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, and I don't think it should be a way and a means to escape, because you're afraid of trying to combat things that you need to confront. Because I think sometimes people might use that as a way to go, I don't really know what I want to do, I just want to run away. Sometimes it can be quite helpful to try and just face things in your reality and go, hang on, there is things I need to figure out here and things I need to sort out. But I think it's a great form to get inspiration and to find things out and to get to know not only the world, but it allows you to
absolutely
get to know yourself.
I'm all about traveling as well, and I said don't try to make drastic changes, but for me personally, it helped to make that drastic change to pack my stuff and just go to Thailand for 6 months. And look, like, yes, I was lucky to have a remote job at that time, and support myself while I'm traveling. But that was still leaving everything behind and just go see what happens by myself. So that was really, really fun and hard at the same time, because I just put myself out there to experience the different culture and met these different people. And I definitely learned a lot about myself. Not that I learned a lot myself, but I just experienced these confirmations about who I am as a person. And if I am who I am, if I am who I'm saying I am. So
Mm.
that was really, really huge. And definitely traveling is one of those things that opened my eyes. But that a lot of people maybe not going to have this opportunity to just quit everything and go for traveling. So I think it goes down to try as many different things as you can.
Yeah.
And if you experience that quarter life crisis, and so yeah.
And I think even when it comes down to, because I even try and use mini travels as like ways to open up my mind.
Oh really? I've thought about. It's interesting you said it, because I thought about it, but I've always thought that it doesn't really work. It's like a holiday thing.
Kind of, yeah. Like sometimes if it's for a vacation, you need to chill out and get some space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should be shutting off and having vacation time. When I think about having a bit of a crisis when I was sort of living in London, sort of starting my business, and that being a period where I was feeling doubtful, I really missed traveling, and there were lots of times where I missed traveling in London, and I didn't have the opportunity or money to go out and travel. Even now, I can't have the opportunity so much to go and go, I'm going to go spend 2 months in Costa Rica or Bali. Like I can't do that. But
sign for my 997.
Yeah. there are times when even if I'm in London and I'm going to traveling to work or traveling to just somewhere, if it's going to a meeting or if it's going to the park and having a day off and going to a meal, I try and treat it like I'm traveling. At the end of the day, I'm traveling. I'm still moving from one place to the other. There's an A to B destination. So, and I remember Stumpy told me this, I stopped using my headphones to like I would do sometimes if I was traveling abroad, kind of open myself up to experiences and kind of treat it like, even treating the city like, how can I find pockets of inspiration?
I guess it comes from being present as well. The more present you, sometimes it was interesting because yesterday when I was going from Manchester to London, I was sitting on a coach, and my phone died because I didn't have a charger and I just didn't have anything to listen to. And I was just sitting there wondering for like an hour, and that was really, really fun because I reflected on what happened in the past month, because it was so busy. I had to like find a new place to work, and I had to find new gyms, and is a new city. I don't really have much friends. Everything was just so quick, and I feel that hour was kind of a reflection on what I did in the last month. And as you said, I was very, very in a present moment, and just sitting down and experiencing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Really
and I think that allows for this kind of inspiration to come into the mind that allows you to be more present, that actually kind of, if I think about, creates less kind of chaos in your life, because you feel sort of like you're living in more of an accordance with yourself. And you're not living in the future or dwelling in the past. You're just being in this moment of, feel like I'm living in a moment, and that's what's guaranteed. And staying present is, having more mindfulness practice in your life will 100% alleviate all crisis. Like again, going back to sort of that quarter life crisis part of my life, that was sort of where things started to change, was when I started to practice more mindfulness training. And
what did you practice?
Meditation, because I never did that before. I was always the kind of person where I was like, I can't sit down and breathe. Breathing as well. So we can put a link in the description. There's a really great guy on YouTube. I can't remember his name right now.
Wim Hof?
It's not. It's kind of similar to Wim Hof, but it's a breathing technique that oxygenizes. It's a similar kind of breathing method. There's also box breathing that you can do. So 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out.
I know that.
Those are all techniques that allow you to kind of, it's calming the sort of nervous system down. Again, I feel like it kind of gives you those moments of a bit more clarity if you're feeling very anxious or stressed or overwhelmed, which is kind of where I feel these kind of periods of crisis can happen or stem from, is what's causing the anxiousness. Well, it might be. So understanding your breathing and just having a control on that is also a fundamental step into creating more of a balance within the mind.
Absolutely. So just going back to the science, if you feel like you've been down for a while and you've been asking questions yourself, like, I don't know, where's my life headed? I'm not sure if that's going to feel the way it feels is going to feel forever. You just kind of comparing yourself to your peers, and you think that don't have your figure it out yourself yet. And then if you have a fear of missing out as well, I guess it's very important. So, sorry, realize that no, it's not going to be forever, and you're just in that period of your life where I guess you have to start figuring yourself out, and just put yourself in these different situations as we spoke earlier, and just try different things. So if you're asking these questions yourself, I guess just start trying as many things as possible.
Yeah, and there's another I feel sort of following is just kind of lean into the self-care more. If I feel doubtful or sort of like I'm not where I should be, or if any of those kind of thoughts creep in, I just lean into doing what makes me feel good. Going for a walk, going for a run, going for a swim, go to a sauna.
I like swimming.
Love swimming. Anything in water, kind of love it. Yeah, go for a massage, go read a book.
I didn't tell you, man. You remember I sent you that picture? But me
Oh, yeah.
up.
Oh, my, yeah, what happened there?
Bro, now that you mentioned massage. So I went to... So my girlfriend and I, we went to this massage place, like a Thai massage. And it was really good massage, by the way. That Thai lady came up, she's like, how hard do you want it? Like, as hard as possible, I want to suffer. And I came in with that mindset, and
That's such a you response.
they started
Hard as possible.
yeah, they started to laugh, and I was just laying down on this massage bed, and she started to like go really hard. It was like, fuck, like this is so hard, but like I enjoyed it, and I was chewing gum at the same time.
Oh my god.
Chewing that gum, and I started to feel like my lips started to swell a bit.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, maybe I just bit myself, because it was so hard and I didn't even feel like, I'm chewing gum.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe at the same time I bit myself, and I didn't feel, because she was just
all elbows.
getting all the traumas out of me.
Right, because your lip looked like you got stung by a bee. Like it was like
Mate,
out
and
there.
then because the massage was for like an hour, and like 20-30 minutes in, I feel like it's gotten even bigger, and I was like, that's not right. Like I'm feeling okay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel right. I'm just not enjoying the massage anymore, because I have to focus on that lip now. And then like she finished it, and I got up, they turned on the lights, they left, and I looked at my girlfriend, and she's like, oh my gosh, and she started to laugh. She's like, what the fuck? And I looked at the mirror, mate, my lip was like that. My eyes were swelled up.
Oh my god, your eye. Oh yeah, your eyes.
Eyes,
Yeah.
my whole face was fucked. And I was like, oh shit, like I got some
just
sort of a
push all
allergic
that
reaction.
tension into your
I don't
face,
know,
like.
man. I don't know. And then so that wasn't over, because we got back home.
Did it get worse?
It didn't get worse, but we waited for like 3-4 hours, because we watched some telly, we chilled a bit, and it's just not getting down. It's not going down. And my girlfriend was like, I think we have to call 111, because like I don't know if we can go to sleep with you like that.
Were you in pain?
No, I wasn't. I felt great.
Yeah.
It was just my face, man.
Oh my
I was like, really, don't worry
Just
about
gone
it. Like,
puffy.
just go to sleep. Like, it's fine. I'll be fine tomorrow morning. She's like, nah. So she called her. We started to chat with the doctor, and he's like asked me some questions, and then
could you breathe and stuff?
yeah. And then sorry, we're just drifting away.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And then so they said, we're going to call you in like a couple of hours. By that time it was 12 already.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to call you in a couple of hours. Docs are going to call you in a couple of hours, asking more questions. And we waited for like an hour, and I was like, listen, let's just go sleep. I really don't care what's going, like I'm fine. Like I'm not feeling any, like I'm not feeling sick or anything.
Pain, yeah.
So we went to sleep, and then the doctor called like at 2:30.
Shit.
I didn't even answer because like I was passed out, like I was sleeping, and they've been asking questions, so my girlfriend answered all the questions, and they're like, I think we're going to have to see him, and it's like 2:30.
Oh shit.
Fuck. But they're like, don't worry, like don't go now. You can come at 8 a.m. or we have an appointment. We have a free space at like 9:45 or something.
Okay.
I was like 9:45. I just can't be asked to go
Yeah.
at 8. And that was Saturday as well. So I got up in the morning. I'm still the same. Like the lip gotten down, but like my
Yeah,
whole
same.
face is still kind of swelled up. So we went to the hospital, and by the time we went there, I was kind of fine. So they like, I don't know what happened. Like, did you eat anything there? Like something that you never like you never really eat that. You never usually eat that.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm just ate whatever. Like, what am I always eating? What I'm always eating, and then so yeah, they just gave me some medicine and they just let me go.
Was it the oil that maybe she used or something like
So
that?
that's the thing. Like that's what everyone asking, but it started to swell way before she put oil on me.
Really?
Yeah.
So funny because Charlie, my brother, who does for the people that don't know who's listening, he put on he like moisturizers and stuff on his face and he uses same type of creams that I use and stuff. And last week Saturday, I was like, did you get fucking hit in the face or something? He had this huge like swelling / like kind of almost like pustule scabs here on his face.
God.
And he was like, yeah, I think I've had a reaction to this face cream. And then we went to jiu-jitsu, so I think it was a mixture between a gi burn on his face plus all of this stuff. And I don't know if it's because of the sweat or something off the mat or whatever, but it was infected. Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's like, maybe you need to go and like check it out. He's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, man, that looks pretty savage. And still, like, he's got like a...
Really?
But I was surprised, like, even because it was a bad swelling that you had. Like,
Oh, mate.
it wasn't the whole lip, it was just one part of the lip as well. But...
yeah, it was literally that side of the lip, and then my eyes was like that.
maybe it must have been like something on the head thing where you put your face in, or...
Well, that's what my girlfriend says. Maybe there was...
she hadn't cleaned it properly or something, and it...
Yeah, could be. But yeah, so back to quarter life crisis. Don't get massages between your 20s and face because you get swelled up. But the massage was sick. Like,
Yeah.
I tried massages in Thailand. I
Well,
love them.
I love it
and
because-
that
yeah.
probably was one of the best I ever had.
No, like, 'cause it's that self-care, isn't it? It's kind of giving yourself some time just to relax and rest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that does you more good inspirationally than people might think it does. And again, allows you to sort of have those moments of being present. So
Yeah.
whenever I feel sort of like anxious or uneasy or feel like I'm going through those periods where, I don't know, I just lean into the self-care. I cook myself a nice meal or treat myself to something nice. You know, listen to the body.
Exactly.
More
And I
importantly.
think, yeah, just to summarize the episode is, it's very important to realize that you're not alone experience that quarter life crisis, because so many young guys, they just, people in general, so many people feeling lost and they don't know what they're doing, and no one does. It's all
Yeah.
about trying as many different things as you can and see what sticks, and then just focusing on these things, and eventually going to, I hope, because I'm in the same boat, like I'm trying these different things, but I'm not trying to pretend like I have this thing figured out, because
Yeah,
I'm not. Like,
yeah.
I'm doing the things that I tried 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and I like them, and I'm still doing them, and that's essentially why I'm continuing doing, and that's the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because I genuinely enjoy it. So yeah, just trying as many different things, and if you can go travel, that's one of the best things that I did. Like literally, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, that's how I guess you navigate through your quarter life crisis.
Totally, and I think it kind of, like you were saying, it's all self-exploration at the end of the day. It's, you know, learning about setting boundaries for yourself. It's, making changes in various areas of your life. It's, looking for different maybe careers or relationships or lifestyles. But it's ensuring that it sort of aligns with that authentic self of you, and you're not going to have that figured out, at 21. It's just impossible. Like, you're just beginning. And even now at my age, I have not got anything figured out. And I'm not sitting here today saying that I know all the answers, but I think what this kind of episode is saying, that you're not alone in feeling that. And if I can share any kind of like things that help me, and maybe that resonates with someone that listens to this in a way that goes, yeah, maybe there is some sense there, then, mission accomplished from this podcast. But like we were saying, I think it's ultimately just trying things and putting yourself out there and giving yourself a safe space to be able to be more of who you are. And that's going to come with discomfort, but I think it's about leaning into that, and being comfortable, because
there's no comfort without discomfort.
And you will navigate it, because people don't give themselves credit for how strong and how tough and resilient humans are. Like, we're an incredibly resilient race across the board. Like, I tell my staff that every day, that we're all resilient and nothing's going to kill you really at the end of the day.
Well, look who's at the top of the food chain, isn't it? So
that's absolutely. Secret questions. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. So if you could sit down with someone who has never experienced a quarter-life crisis and explain to them what it feels like, what would you say?
I would say it feels like kind of like you're flipped on your head and you're navigating a dark room without a torch. Like, when you're going through a quarter life crisis, you feel like nothing really kind of helps. You're just in a state of like panic towards yourself, and that creates insecurity. And I think a lot of it's just feeling insecure, so you're kind of looking for things to validate you, and you're not able to hug yourself or love yourself from a place. That's kind of how I would describe it. So that's at least what it was for me. It was like I wasn't looking at myself from a place of appreciation for the things that I'd done up until that point. I just thought that I was not good enough because I hadn't figured it out. And then I realized it's not about figuring anything out. It's just about doing it.
Doing whatever you think.
Doing whatever you think is right. Like, it's that classic thing of like, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's cliche, and it's annoying.
It's cliche, but it's so true.
It is true. It is true. And giving myself a break, not being so hard on myself. So that's kind of how I would describe for what a crisis would feel like. My secret question to you is, what emotions did you feel when you started to come out of a transitionary period where you started to have a bit more understanding of who you were as a person?
I know you mentioned that for you that happened at 25. I think for me it started to come at 25, but I really felt it when I was 26, when I was in Thailand. And at that time I realized, I am that person. That I am who I am. I am who I say I am. And that it felt liberating. It felt very I felt peaceful and happy at the same time, because it felt like I accomplished a goal that I was seeking for so long, because I always wanted to figure myself out, but I never really knew how to do it. And I kind of knew how to do it, but I never really understood that is the right way to do it. But when I got that confirmation from myself, basically, that I am that person, it was kind of a, when you sometimes think about stuff and only after a while it comes down to your head, like, oh yes, like that's exactly what I was thinking about, but I never really got it. So that time was just this light bulb moment. I was like, yes, I'm pretty sure what I'm doing is right. So yeah, it was I felt very peaceful, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna continue on doing that.
Nice. Yeah, it's like so I
It's
try and,
very freeing feeling.
yeah, I think you do have those moments where you feel a bit more liberated in
Yeah.
yourself, and you feel more confident that you're capable of doing things that you might not necessarily thought you could do.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from when you reach certain milestones in your life.
Yeah.
Um,
Like our 20th episode.
yeah, like huge, like massive milestone.
You remember when we were talking in a coffee shop, and
Right.
20 episodes were looking so far away, and now we're here.
And it's just one of those small wins where you're like,
A testimony that we
yeah,
can do it.
absolutely, a testimony to say that who's to say that I can't start
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. For anyone.
Life is a game.
If we can do, you can do as well.
Yeah, man. So to kind of cap things off, a massive thank you to you guys, for everyone that's watching, for everyone that's come this far in the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We always love to hear your feedback and love to hear from you guys. So if there's anything that you would like us to talk about, any guests that you would like to have us on, please comment down below. Please follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We've got Conrad that posts on Substack. So there's great information there.
Blogs,
So we're just becoming a lot more interactive on the realm of the internet. So just get involved, and more to come soon on creating more of a community around Triangle Theory too.
Yep.
As we'd love to get you guys more involved in this project. So we will see you in the next one.
Yep.
Boom.